Murata Kotaru was a guy completely drained by his job. He'd been working at the same company for years, but it felt more like a trap than a career. Every day felt the same. Wake up, grind through the office, go home exhausted, and repeat. The only place that gave him any peace was the baseball stadium. That place felt like another world. The cheering crowd, the fresh air, the crack of the bat. It helped him forget all the stress. If he could stay there forever, he would. While sitting in his usual spot, zoning out in his thoughts, someone called out to him. He didn't react at first, but eventually turned to see a girl standing there with a tray of beer. She asked if he wanted one, and he nodded. She poured only half a glass and asked for 700 yen. Murata looked at the cup, confused, wondering if that's all he was getting. Then she laughed and filled it to the top, saying she was just messing around. She thanked him for the purchase and moved along. Soon, a star player named Ken entered the field, and the whole crowd went wild. Murata, like everyone else, couldn't help but get caught up in the energy. Ken was a big name. People looked up to him like a hero. Just then, Murata noticed something odd. The same beer girl from earlier had suddenly taken a seat next to him. She said she needed a break, claiming all that stair climbing and beer selling was tiring. She even said she sold more than 300 cups a day, which surprised him. Murata realized he'd never seen her before. As he took a better look at her, he noticed she was actually quite pretty. Out of nowhere, she leaned closer and asked if he thought she was cute. Murata got super awkward. She chuckled and said it was obvious anyway. He tried to play it cool, but inside he was flustered. Right then, Ken smacked a home run, and the whole stadium erupted in cheers. The girl turned to Murata and asked why everyone made such a big deal about Ken. Murata explained that Ken was more than just good. He carried his team and had won so many games that people practically worshipped him. As they talked more, the girl leaned in and whispered something in his ear, which made Murata's heart skip a beat. She smiled, said she enjoyed their chat, and got up to leave. But Murata, not ready for the conversation to end, asked for another beer. She teased him a little but got excited and stayed longer. Murata started thinking, this girl could talk forever. Eventually, she told him her name, Ruriko. After heading back to work, Ruriko walked down the stairs with a red face, mumbling to herself about how nervous she was talking to him. She even hoped her voice wasn't too annoying, secretly happy that she got to talk to him. A funny moment followed where she got so lost in her thoughts about Murata that she ignored a customer calling out for beer. The next day, Murata came back to the stadium. This time, he brought his own lunch and planned to eat while watching the match. Out of nowhere, Ruriko popped up again and joked about him treating the place like home. He smiled, caught off guard, and she handed him a beer right away, same price as before. When Murata took a sip, he noticed the taste had improved. He told her, and she lit up with joy, proudly saying she'd been practicing to make her drinks better. Murata found himself surprised at how happy that made him. Before heading off again, Ruriko casually mentioned she hadn't taken a single break that day. That small comment made Murata pause. He started wondering why he was thinking about her so much lately. He tried to shake it off, but the feeling stuck. As he finished his drink, he looked around, hoping to spot her again. Just when he was about to give up and call someone else for another beer, Ruriko returned. She gave him a playful glare and joked about him looking at other beer sellers. She said she had eyes everywhere and didn't like the idea of him buying from someone else. Embarrassed, Murata tried to explain, but she kept teasing him. She acted like he had broken some kind of beer seller loyalty rule and warned him not to cheat on her, all while laughing. Murata, red-faced and speechless, couldn't help but laugh too. Maybe this ballpark wasn't just an escape anymore. Maybe something new was starting. Murata wanted to say something clever, something like reminding Ruriko that she wasn't his girlfriend and that he could buy a drink from anyone he wanted, but that was just in his head. He didn't actually say it. He didn't have the nerve. Just then, the crowd went wild. A player had smacked a powerful hit, the energy in the stadium exploded, and Murata couldn't help but get caught up in it. But Ruriko didn't seem to care at all. She barely reacted, looking completely uninterested in the game. Her attention was focused somewhere else. She kept glancing at another girl nearby. Then, out of nowhere, she turned to Murata and asked something that caught him off guard. She pointed out the girl and questioned if that was the kind of girl he liked. Murata froze. His heart started racing and he couldn't find the words to respond. Ruriko noticed and seemed a little hurt, But before the silence got awkward, she suddenly started fixing her hair and made him look at her. When their eyes met, Murata's face turned bright red. She gave him a smug little smile, clearly enjoying his reaction. She could feel that his heart was racing faster, and she knew she had won that moment. Murata tried to act like it wasn't a big deal, but she saw right through him. In the end, he gave up trying to hide it and told her he'd only buy drinks from her from now on. Ruriko lit up. Whether it was because she actually liked him or because she had just locked down a regular customer, it was hard to tell. Maybe both. That mystery would have to wait for another time. Murata took another sip of his drink and smiled. It tasted just as good as the last one. Earlier, Ruriko had mentioned she added some kind of secret ingredient to make it special, but that was a total lie. She hadn't done anything different. It was just beer. Off to the side, Ruriko was quietly celebrating to herself. She was blushing a little, proud that she might have just gotten her first loyal customer. That had clearly been part of her goal from the start. Meanwhile, not far from the stands, a veteran security guard named Higashi was still on duty. He had worked at the stadium for 3 decades. At 65 years old, he was still sharp, focused, and took his job seriously. As the day went on, 2 younger guards arrived to take over, signaling that it was time for Higashi to take a short break. In the staff lounge, one of the new guys started talking a little too confidently, bragging about how fun the job was, except that it didn't let him watch the games properly. His tone annoyed the others, who told him to chill out. But he kept running his mouth anyway. Back outside, Ruriko was back to selling drinks when a small girl suddenly tugged at her apron. The child, only about 4 years old, looked lost and scared. Her name was Miko. She had somehow gotten separated from her parents in the middle of the crowd and was now crying loudly, calling for them in a panic. Without wasting a second, Ruriko picked her up and took her straight to Higashi, trusting he would know what to do. He reassured both her and Ruriko, then quickly made a lost child announcement over the stadium speakers. Back in the staff lounge, the same arrogant guard overheard the announcement and started making rude comments. He mocked the situation, blaming the parents and saying kids had no business being at packed events like this. His words hit a nerve. Higashi was clearly irritated but kept his calm. Before he could respond, Ruriko stepped in. She grabbed the guard by the collar and told him off, reminding him to watch his mouth, especially in front of a crying child. Miko, already overwhelmed, started sobbing even harder. Ruriko gently turned her attention back to the girl, trying to calm her down. Seeing this, Higashi handed a small piece of candy to another guard named Takimoto and told him to give it to Miko. Takimoto hesitated for a moment, but eventually went over and offered it to her. The moment Miko tasted the candy, she stopped crying. Her face lit up with a smile, and she quietly thanked Takimoto. That simple gesture triggered something in Takimoto's memory. Suddenly, he remembered being a lost child himself once. He recalled a moment long ago when he, too, had gotten separated from his parents at a crowded place. A kind security guard had calmed him down, given him candy, and told him everything would be okay. As he thought back, he realized that the guard from his childhood was none other than Higashi, the same man now working beside him. The realization hit him hard, and he felt guilty about how he had acted earlier. Before he could say anything, Miko's parents rushed in, clearly frantic. The moment the little girl saw them, she ran straight to her mom and clung to her tightly. Her dad was right there too, but she only had eyes for her mother. The parents thanked everyone over and over, but Higashi and his team brushed it off like it was just another part of the job. The game came to an end and the crowd started leaving, the stadium slowly emptying out. Later, Takimoto found Higashi and approached him, this time more serious and respectful. He apologized for the way he had acted and admitted that he had a deep love for baseball, but also that he now understood the responsibility that came with their job. He even shared the story from his childhood, explaining how much that moment had meant to him. Higashi just smiled, recognizing that the young man had finally grown up a little. The other guards nearby watched the whole conversation. Some were touched. A few even got emotional, seeing the full circle moment. Ruriko stood quietly, watching with a soft expression. The way everything connected, the past, the present, and even the smallest act of kindness, left a mark on everyone who witnessed it. That was the end of the episode. Thanks for watching. The next day, we're introduced to a woman named Yuki. She's a TV actress, so you'd think she'd be used to dealing with crowds, but nope, she hates riding the subway. It's always too packed, too loud, and just too much. That day, things are even worse. She's headed toward a huge stadium, and the sea of people buzzing with energy is already getting on her nerves. In the middle of all that chaos, another woman is calmly sitting, flipping through a newspaper like nothing's happening. She's zoned in on the sports section, completely unbothered. Yuki notices and instantly gets more irritated. She doesn't get how someone could be so chill reading about sports, especially in that kind of crowd. She's never liked sports fans much, especially baseball fans. Even so, Yuki ends up walking into the stadium with everyone else. Sounds weird, right? Someone who clearly can't stand baseball going to a game, but it all makes sense soon enough. Inside, she starts paying attention to the players. Some nearby girls are gossiping about one of them, how amazing he is and how everyone loves him. Yuki listens quietly and agrees on the inside. The guy they're talking about, Kujiro, is definitely skilled, but in her eyes he's not much to look at. Kinda rugged, older than the usual stars. Out of nowhere, Riko pops up again, this time selling drinks in the stands. Yuki flags her down, but the moment their eyes meet, both women freeze. They just realized they saw each other earlier that morning on the subway. On the field, the game gets serious. Kujiro steps up to bat. Yuki watches closely, and that's when she finally reveals why she's really here. Turns out Kujiro is her husband. She doesn't care about the sport, but she's here anyway. She's silently cheering him on, hoping he does well. But her peace is short-lived. Two older guys sitting behind her start bad-mouthing Kujiro. They're laughing, saying he's too old to be on the field and dragging the team down. Yuki clenches her fists, trying not to explode. But it keeps going. The more they talk, the more heated she gets, until finally she can't take it anymore. She turns around and lets them have it. She doesn't hold back. She tells them off for talking trash, and says if they think it's so easy, they should get out there themselves. Riko, watching from the side, is caught in the moment. Yuki turns to her and asks for backup, and after a beat, Riko smiles and says she believes Kujiro's going to hit something big today. And just like that, Kujiro swings. Boom! Huge hit! Almost a home run. The crowd goes wild. Even the grumpy old men are now standing and clapping. Yuki's so impressed, she starts praising Riko for her prediction. The two old guys even end up toasting each other with drinks, all happy now. But here's the twist. Riko doesn't actually know anything about baseball. She only repeated something she overheard from a guy talking to himself earlier. Total guess, total luck. Later that night, Yuki chats with Kujiro over the phone, telling him he played great and to come home soon. She reflects on how she used to sit in the fancy seats, but when things didn't go well, it just made her feel worse. That's why now she sits among the regular fans, quietly supporting him without all the pressure. When he plays well, it feels more real that way. Meanwhile, Riko is chilling in the staff room. Her manager walks in and sees her laughing at something in the newspaper. Turns out, she was reading a silly joke. They're both laughing about it, when suddenly another manager storms in, yelling about them slacking off. Just like that, the moment's over. Riko sighs to herself. This job really isn't easy. Then, we jump back to about 90 minutes before the game. In the break room, the female staff are chatting about how to deal with customers, what to say, how to smile, that kind of stuff. Everyone's joking and having fun. Everyone except Riko. She sits quietly, clearly not enjoying the small talk. It just feels fake to her. Out of nowhere, something crosses her mind and she freezes. The others notice her weird reaction and ask what's wrong, but before she can respond, Driddy steps in and changes the subject, bragging about getting a regular customer hooked on her service, someone named Murata. Soon, the group starts exchanging social media handles, and they ask Riko for hers. She says she'll share it later and stays behind. Once alone, she tries to make her first Instagram account, but she's totally clueless. She fumbles with the app, getting more and more frustrated. While that's happening, a staff meeting kicks off. The manager praises everyone at first, then shifts to serious stuff. He warns the team about creepy customers who've been crossing lines lately. No sharing private info, no exceptions. But Riko's too distracted by her phone to hear any of it. When he notices and calls her out, she panics and blurts out that she'd never give out personal info, totally flustered. Fast forward to the stadium. 3 shady dudes walk in. Loud, obnoxious, the type you don't want to deal with. Riko sees them and instantly knows these are the kind of people the manager warned about. They call her over and she goes to take their order. The bill is 2,100 yen, but instead of paying, they start hitting on her. asking if she wants to make videos with them, throwing compliments, being way too personal. She stays calm. She remembers what the manager said. She keeps things professional, even when they start asking stuff like where she lives, how old she is, if she's still in school. She keeps saying no, says it's company policy not to share any personal info. Inside, she's freaking out, but outside, she's all business. Then one of them asks for her Instagram. That's when she really freezes. She awkwardly admits she doesn't even have one yet. She's still trying to figure it out. They laugh, not in a mean way, just surprised. And then, out of nowhere, they start helping her make an account. They're actually being helpful, walking her through the setup like tech support. An old guy nearby watches the whole thing go down. He chuckles to himself, shaking his head, thinking this girl is definitely one of a kind. Meanwhile, Driti, still annoyed, secretly records everything and posts it online. The video explodes in popularity. Everyone's watching it. But Rico? She's just happy her Instagram finally works. After that moment, the story shifts to a girl named Yamada. She starts thinking back to a time 2 years ago when she was still in college. Back then, she'd gone to a big sports event with a friend, just a normal day out. But something about it stuck with her. It wasn't the game that grabbed her attention. It was the girls moving through the crowd, selling drinks with a kind of energy she'd never seen before. They wore bright outfits, had this confident vibe, and just stood out. That image burned itself into her memory. It was right then she decided she wanted to be one of them someday. That dream became something she chased, imagining herself out there in the spotlight, full of spirit and confidence. But fast forward to the present, and things hadn't turned out like she hoped. Instead of being out in the stands, she was stuck behind a counter in a stadium shop, selling snacks and drinks to people who barely looked at her. The excitement she once felt had slowly faded. She kept comparing her dream to her reality, and it made her feel kind of empty. Even so, she kept going. Whenever someone came to the counter, she'd fake a smile and act cheerful like nothing was wrong. But when the rush died down, so did her mood. It was like flipping a switch, happy on the outside, tired and lost on the inside. One day, while she was handing over an order of fried chicken, her manager walked up. He looked like he was trying to figure out what was going on with her. She tried to brush it off, acting like everything was totally fine, but he didn't buy it. Then, out of nowhere, he said something that totally shook her. He was planning to raise her pay by 10 times. She didn't know what to say. Just moments ago, she was dragging herself through the day, and now this? It felt like life had just thrown her a lifeline. The boost in pay wasn't just about money, it made her feel seen. Someone believed in her. That lit a fire in her again, and she started putting more heart into her work like she had a purpose again. Soon after, a guy she'd seen before showed up to buy something. She recognized him. He gave her a compliment about the food, just a passing comment, but it stuck with her. For a second, she caught herself imagining silly things, like if this guy was meant to be something more in her story, but she quickly laughed it off and went back to work. Later, her manager came by again with another surprise. He was thinking about making her the team leader. That hit her even harder than the pay raise. She didn't expect it at all. All those feelings of failure and disappointment started to fade. For the first time in a long while, she felt proud of herself. By the time her shift ended, she walked outside and saw the stadium girls leaving too. She watched them from a distance, those same types of girls she once wanted to be. A small part of her still felt a bit sad, like she'd missed out on something. But then, a little girl passing by smiled at her and said she was happy to see her. That one small moment warmed her heart. It reminded her that even if her dream had changed, she was still doing something that mattered to someone. She realized she didn't have to be out in the stands to shine. She could still be proud of the work she was doing now, and just like that, she made up her mind to keep moving forward. With her head high and a smile that was finally real. And that's where the episode ends.